Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community at our website, local.theexperience.video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. Oregon's most trusted roofing company, Ironhead Roofing. Veteran and family owned. Call today at 541-209-0575. ironheadroofing.com. Make 2025 your best year ever. Set and track your goals with the Independent Planner. Designed for entrepreneurs by an entrepreneur. Supplement your digital calendar. independent-planner.com. Avalos Car Media Group. Ollie and her team are helping entrepreneurs and businesses break through barriers, expand their reach, and thrive on a global scale. acmgdigital.com. And now let's get on with the show.
Hey, here we are. Welcome everybody to The Experience live with Russ and Scott. Grabbing my coffee, ready to go on this Wednesday. You know, we're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course, 9 a.m. Texas time.
That's right.
And that's where Scott's coming from. How's it going, Scott?
Oh, it's great. And it was kind of interesting yesterday. You may have heard of SpaceX. Well, about 25 miles from here in McGregor, Texas, SpaceX has a facility, and they do testing of the motors, the rocket motors over there. Well, yesterday they did a couple of tests, went for about 5 minutes, and again, they're 25 miles away. It rattled things in the house. My wife has this beautiful collection of spoons from all the places we've been hanging on the wall, and they were shaking for about 5 minutes. They did 2 tests yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
So you may have heard of SpaceX. I heard SpaceX.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You heard it. Yeah, that's amazing.
25 miles away. I can't imagine what it's like if you were in downtown McGregor.
There you go. That's crazy things happen in Wacko Waco. There you go. That's awesome. Well, Scott, you know what? You're learning all this new stuff and a new part of the country, and that's great. Hey, we just want to start welcoming everybody this morning. And, you know, a really good friend and actually co-author, Kinga, is joining us this morning. She is an amazing person. And if you don't know her, you should connect with her. But I am just so thankful for all of you watching, everybody tuning in today. And for those of you who are tuning in, do us a favor. You can share this out right now, because guess what? There's a lot of people that don't know what's going on because they just woke up and they're not sure what day it is yet. So you got to share it out and tell them it's Wednesday. The Experience Live with Russ and Scott is on. Also, Eugene is with us today. They do not want to miss him. So they can tag their friends, let people know, everybody, that this is happening today. And we would love that. Also want to tell you that we have a great little nifty site that Scott created called the local.theexperience.video. More information on Scott and I, more information on this show and other shows, and the Experience Radio Network, which you want to find out more about. And so go to local.theexperience.video. You can also jump to our YouTube page and subscribe. We'd love you to do that. But if you want to even just go straight there, go to theexperience.video. The experience.video will take you directly to our YouTube page. That is growing, and we're trying to get more people in that community. Maddie and Maisie, my wonderful beagle and cat, are more popular than Scott and I. And so you'll see some of them on there.
Yes.
Yeah. Way more. And in fact, Maddie made an appearance on the Experience Backstage that we have every week before this show. That's at 6:30 a.m. on Instagram only. So if you want to see our wind up and our amazing friend Shri, who gives great video tips, we do that every Wednesday, 6:30 a.m. on Instagram only. Then we pop over here to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for the Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Whew, I think I got it all out, Scott.
Well, as we're preparing for 2025, and everyone should be preparing for 2025, take some time and reflect. Use the 1,000 thanks hashtag and
Yes.
reflect on this year and all the things that you're thankful for, all the people in your life, and reach out and send some messages, give them a call and connect with people. But as you're looking at 2025, reach out to Russ or myself if you would like to be a sponsor for the experience on Wednesdays, or the Experience Local on Mondays, which is also broadcast on 2 radio stations, which one of those goes out on TuneIn. So it is all over the planet. You can also be a supporter of Marketing with Russ. That's twice a week. And then also on Thursday afternoons, a great panel discussion that Russ leads every week called
Russ Reels Live.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
make
Yeah,
sure you tune into Russ Reels Live.
it's really fun because, with different themes to different shows. That is a theme-driven, topic-driven, panel-driven show, Russ Reels Live. A lot of fun.
Mhm.
So tune into that. And Scott, of course, has the Waco experience going on. So many great things, and just really excited about all this going on. I want to remind everybody again what Scott just said, too. We just came off Thanksgiving, and we're in a season of family, friends, celebration. Don't forget to thank your family and friends, whether you do it on social media or not, doesn't really matter. But if you're on social media, use hashtag 1000thanks and remind people how
Mhm.
thankful you are for them. It reminds you how thankful you are. But in your family, tell them you love them. Tell them you're thankful for them. I can tell you that going through my cancer journey now, all the people that tell me they love me and that they care and they're thankful, really, it just lifts you every day. It lifts me
Mhm.
up, makes me feel like, people care, and I know that God cares. And so let people know that. I just want to encourage y'all today. So
Yeah, so everyone go to local.theexperience.video and you can learn more about all these programs. And again, sponsorships getting ready for 2025. We're already filling up. So make sure you get your spot in there to talk to Russ or myself. And then follow us on our YouTube channel. That's the experience.video. And then send us your YouTube channel. We want to follow you. This is a thing that we can do to support and encourage each other. Doesn't cost a thing, but hit the subscribe button. And I can tell you that in the 3 years, Russ, that we've been doing the program, guests like Eugene bring inspiration every Wednesday.
absolutely, absolutely. And the experience of life encompasses so many different areas. And so this is where you can expand your horizons and find out what other amazing people like Eugene are doing, how you can tap into that if that's an area of passion for you, and just really connect with each other. Like you said, I just said a moment ago, Kinga, who's on with us today, who is an amazing person, is a great connector. So that's another reason to get in touch with her. But I just wanted to say that people like her use these platforms, which Scott said are free. You can get on social media and all that stuff and connect with people and build and learn and grow for nothing. So take advantage of that and support your friends when you're here. So, okay, Scott, I think it's time to get things going. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm excited. Why don't you give a little introduction of how you met Eugene?
Yeah, well, Eugene and I had been connected, but then met officially in New York at the Perspectives on Cancer um, uh, live conference. And
Mhm.
that was just here a couple months ago. And what a blessing he is being part of that, advocating for people with cancer, doing so many amazing things. Let's welcome him in, Mr. Eugene Manley. How's it
Hello,
going?
Eugene.
Good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. It's pretty early for you over there.
Yeah, well, we're early birds, so it's all good. It is early for us. That's true. It was
Yeah,
a lot
I'm happy to
easier.
be up at 9.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not as early for you.
That's
That's
right.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I flew to New York, Eugene, it's a lot easier going there than coming home, because when you go there and it's getting later, it's actually earlier for me. So and I was only there a weekend. So by the time my body was adjusting, then I flew back. Then it was harder to come back home because then it just had flipped the script on me. So yeah, anyway, hey, give everybody a little info, Eugene. Who is Eugene Manley? What are you up to? What are you all about?
So I'm Dr. Eugene Manley, and I guess I run a nonprofit that I launched last year, August, called the STEM and Cancer Health Equity Foundation, or SHEC Foundation. So broadly, we're trying to work to increase STEM workforce diversity and improving outcomes for underserved patients navigating the cancer care continuum. And really, broadly, we want to make sure more diverse kids have exposure to STEM fields at early ages, help them navigate college and degree transition so they can be in a space where they can excel, and then making sure they're in the workforce and then they can advocate for these populations. But the other side of this is that we do a terrible job of explaining basic medical information, let alone cancer information, to underserved populations, poor populations, even the lay public. So we're working to try to create infographics and materials to help break down this complex information so it's digestible.
Yeah, this is a great deal because so many students don't have the opportunity to learn about the career options that are out there. A lot of times it's just what their family or folks in their neighborhood are involved in. But there's a wide world of career opportunities out there. So, Dr. Eugene, give us an insight of how you got involved.
Ooh, this goes back even longer. So I grew up in Detroit, first gen, dirt poor, youngest of my siblings. And I was a chronic asthmatic. And I still have my asthma today, but I was in the hospital probably 20 to 30 times a year just with my asthma until I was about 10 or 11. Like I could be outside in grass. If I was in grass, like it was just over. And so it was so hyper, like I really couldn't do much, but I learned to be in the hospital a lot and I got used to needles. And I was probably the one kid that's like, oh, you're just going to inject me again. Everyone else is screaming. I'm sitting there like, okay. So, but also I was, so from that perspective, I was always interested in medicine. And then I was always interested in engineering, and maybe that started as a kid because it was the early 80s, so Transformers were on, and I wanted to see how stuff worked and operated. So I sort of kept those themes in my head. And I had a family member, that had a history of smoking, and so I didn't per se associate smoking with lung cancer, but it ended up being something I studied, which I didn't know I would do. But then as I went through high school, I was still doing engineering and biology, went through undergrad, did mechanical engineering, did my summers doing biomedical research, then did my master's in biomedical engineering. And then I did my PhD in molecular and cell biology and biochemistry and focused on a lot of lung cancer treatments. And then I did some postdocs. So I ended up at U of Michigan, Thomas Jefferson, and Oregon out there at OHSU. So I was out there for about 3.5 years. And then finally I transitioned to the nonprofit space. And what I will say is what I learned along the way is that there's a lot of schools that have programs or mentorship programs that they have for diverse scholars, but they really don't take into account the lived experience of many of these first gen students. And it's still formulaic for what you must do as opposed to listening to sort of, they might be having stuff going on in the back of their life that they can't talk to you about because a lot of structural systemic things, and then they're still trying to navigate the stuff, and they're probably helping family members, and they can't really say, well, I've got to make these calls for my parent. I got to make sure they get this treatment. And then you're still trying to function in the lab. But so we got to make sure that those kids going into school, though, know all the career options that are available. Because often you go in and academia teaches you only can do this or this or this. But if we can start teaching them about the multiple paths you can take with your degree, that there is a grad school if you want it, and then where your options are after grad school, there's postdoc, but there's also nonprofit careers, government, industry, science, writing, communication. So there are many options. So
let me break in there, Eugene, real quickly. I love that because I want to make sure and focus on this. And that is, it can be very confusing. It can be overwhelming with all that's offered there for kids to do, but it's also overwhelming for the people going through the process through all this. And so this is where I think all that you are doing as far as helping with education and advocacy and all of that is amazing. I know we talked about, as many people may know, OHSU is where I go for my cancer treatment and for all of my doctors. And so an amazing organization. And you and I obviously didn't meet there, but too bad I didn't know you back when you were at OHSU. A great organization. But places like that are teaching, growing, and treating and blessing people all at the same time. Talk about the advantages of places like that are teaching hospitals and all of, because I get to see all that as I go in. They bring in students and people and talk to me as well.
So the thing is, with a teaching hospital, it's not just your clinical load. You have to, you're training med students, residents, fellows, those that are going to come eventually, the surgeons, oncologists. And so, so they will come make rounds, get the experience of the patients, learn how to ask questions, learn how to diagnose. Eventually they'll start doing procedures and doing treatments. And the thing of a teaching hospital that sort of makes it more impactful is that they typically also, not always, but they're generally associated with major major research institutions. So there's often a research component at these universities that also ties into the work they're doing. And many of the physicians, not all of them, but many are also physician scientists that are also doing research and studies on the side. And also when you're at these places, because they have infrastructure and resources, they're more able and likely to be able to do clinical trials. They have infrastructure set up. So often your trials are done at these sites as well.
And I want to go back to Perspectives on Cancer, where you physically met Russ Hedge. And Perspectives on Cancer, the live conference, was in New York, right, Russ? This last, September, October? It was October.
Early October?
Yeah, so just
early October.
Just happened. Put together by our good friend Tim Sohn. And just to let everyone know, it is now an official charitable organization, 501c3. So if you're coming up to the end of the year and you're thinking, where can I put some money that will do good and get the tax benefit for it, reach out to Tim Sohn, and Russ can help you with that, or Dr. Eugene as well. But let's talk about, Dr. Eugene, about what you talked about at the Perspectives on Cancer conference.
Well, this one I was trying to stay back because I can talk and I can be in the crowd, but I was really trying to let it be focused on the patients and their experiences. When you're in a crowd, you don't want to take the air out of them, so you let the people talk about their experience. And it was more for them, so I'm okay sitting back. But then Rochelle dragged me up to speak, so. But it's really about listening to their story, their experience, and for patients, that's empowering because unfortunately, no matter which cancer you're dealing with, often the hardest thing at the beginning is, one, you have a diagnosis, and then what does all this mean? And then you get this massive booklet that you aren't going to understand at all. And then you're trying to figure out, how do you find information and resources? And then if you're a patient or survivor that's been around a little longer, then you start saying, well, how do I learn more and make sure other people know what's happening? So then they start, looking for social media groups, using storytelling to bring presence and reach. And this is really important for these patients because they get to tell their stories. And then the people that are dealing with these things don't feel so alone, because it can be very daunting navigating a journey. And even when you're experienced, it's, lung cancer, they have anxiety. They're always, when they're treated and they're still worried every year to go do their scan. Is it going to come back? We're going to have to go do more treatments. And it's a perpetual fear that they have. And so just having that community can help them sort of find some connection and community that helps them, I wouldn't say cope, but at least they find people that they have something in common with. And often they will help you find treatments or trials or studies or sites. And so that's the importance of really bringing people together.
Yeah. And I want to highlight that because, I'm actually a board member as well now for Perspectives on Cancer. And it is all, number one, about connection. I mean, we have our main things: connection, education, and support. And I'm telling you that connecting with others, and I am still really closely connected with a lot of the people, was beforehand, even more afterwards this year, being in New York. And I just love the whole idea of people helping, supporting, and some of people have been through it much sooner than the rest of us, right? So they have more experience and helping with that. And you were right. I mean, I'm going into a PET scan tomorrow. And because of my whole cancer journey, I contracted diabetes through one of the treatments. And so that makes it even more difficult because last time I had the big fail on my PET scan because my blood sugar went wacko and I couldn't do it. So we're trying a new thing this time to manage my blood sugar, but there is always that little bit of apprehension. I don't worry really about things. I'm always trusting God and believing for good, but still you're a little apprehensive and want to know the results. You want to know, where are you? And so tomorrow I'll find that out, or the next day when I get that information. But I understand that it is all about supporting people and realizing, hey, you know what? There's people here for you. And I think that's so important. So Eugene, I know that you're involved in a lot of organizations, and you just got back. Tell us some of the conferences you just got back from.
The one immediately I just returned from, like late last night, was the National Lung Cancer Roundtable. And National Lung Cancer Roundtable, or NOCRT, is about a consortium of about 230 different organizations, all doing different aspects or similar aspects across lung cancer. It can be pharma, nonprofits, patient advocates, hospital systems, CDC, NIH. So they're all coming together, and they have probably 8 to 10 task groups. I haven't looked at the task groups in a while. I'm on the stigma and nihilism task group and the health equity task groups. But the task groups help also define initiatives and programs that'll probably become priority areas for the consortium. And the beauty of the consortium, it's been around, I think, 7 years now. And this is the largest meeting they've had to date. And many of the people on the roundtable are all volunteers, and no one is getting paid to be on the roundtable, but it feels it's a collective need to really work to advance what we're doing in lung cancer. And as you may or may not know, probably in the last 20 years, lung cancer has been the leading driver of precision medicine. EGFR was discovered in around 2003, and that was really the first biomarker. And since then, we are up to probably about 11 biomarkers for lung cancer. And then we have some immunotherapies, and then they have combination therapies, radiation therapy. And so what we now have is patients have more hope than they had in the past. But sadly, not everyone is still getting biomarker testing. Like if you have a potential lung cancer diagnosis, you should always be able to get your NGS testing and get tested for those 11 biomarkers. And sadly, many people only still get 1 to 3 of those biomarkers. And it's really unconscionable, because if you get your biomarker testing, you likely have a therapy that could, extend your life and maybe even have, longer tumor-free periods. But so many people don't get it. And part of it is insurance. Part of it is denials, trying to, just already to get a diagnosis, trying to get follow-up. And lung cancer is just so hard to initially diagnose. And sadly, we're starting to see, which is tricky, we're starting to see people develop lung cancer at earlier ages, and we still don't have risk factors for those.
So I know Russ is going to bring us into winding down pretty soon here, but I want to ask you some things. I love that you talked about listening, and it's so important to listen to the patients and to their families. But people on the outside want to help. They want to say something. Can you tell us some things that people shouldn't say and things that people can say when you're trying to talk to somebody about their journey?
Well, some key things, simply in lung cancer, since there's a lot of stigma. One, you should know, anyone with lungs can get lung cancer. Sadly, we had all these strong anti-smoking campaigns in the 80s that use all this graphic imagery. So unfortunately, now people think that, if you have lung cancer, that you have to have been a person that smoked, and then that you deserve to get it. And neither is the case. And even if you were a person that smoked, you still don't deserve to get lung cancer. You deserve to get any treatment and option that's available to you. Two, we have so many therapies now that are extending lives. Before in the 80s and even 90s, we only had chemotherapy and radiation, but that was just not going to help people. Really listen to what they're saying. Don't try to, if they say something, don't try to equivocate something they said with something you're experiencing if it's not cancer. And sometimes you just need to, sometimes sit back. Sometimes they may need food. They may need transport. They may need help with their kids. They don't always know what they want or need, but just try to listen and try to help as necessary. But yeah, and the really thing is just don't victim blame. It's enough to go through the diagnosis and the treatment and the follow-up stuff. And so really making them still feel like they're human. Because, when someone gets breast or prostate or colon, oh my God, we're so sorry. How can we help? But then as long, oh, well, you deserve to get, and that is not remotely true.
Well, and it's also true, Eugene, that people like myself, where the cancer metastasized and goes to other parts of your body, it went into my lungs. So I have got it from my foot to my groin to my lungs to my brain. By the way, everybody that doesn't know this, praise God, the tumor in my brain is, through the last MRI after radiation, is mostly gone. Cancer is gone there. No new cancer at this point. So we're praising God for that. But it travels in your body. So just because you have lung cancer, which mine is actually metastasized melanoma that actually went into there, so they don't call it lung cancer, but it's in my lungs. And so people can get it there for a variety of reasons, and it doesn't really matter. My dad died of lung cancer from smoking. And I can tell you, I was anything but, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't surprised because of his lifelong smoking, but I was nothing but supportive and loving through the process, because nobody deserves to get cancer. Nobody does. So as we wind up here, Eugene, give everybody your highlight. Got a couple minutes left. Give everybody your highlight and what kind of your gold nugget, what you want them to remember from today's discussion, and then let everybody know how they get in touch with you, because
all right,
I'm excited.
Big nugget is, I forgot we had our Lung Cancer Health Equity Summit last month. It was a great event to start bringing attention to the issues impacting Black and Latino patients with lung cancer, because we have nothing out there for those communities. And I've worked in lung orgs and have done research in lungs. So we really wanted to try to start building that community. And I think we've laid a foundation that we can build on. I think the key nuggets are just, always ask questions, always ask for second opinions, always understand your options. We don't have time to say, but figure out how to ask the right questions to get the answers you need. We just heard some patients yesterday that talked about they were asking questions, but they weren't asking it the way to get the answer they needed. So they didn't know they had a biomarker. And just really build that community, find your support system, and don't be afraid to speak up and self-advocate. And the power of storytelling is really, 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 really beneficial.
And let everybody know how they get in touch with you, Eugene.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Eugene Manley Jr. The nonprofit is STEM and Cancer Health Equity. It's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. I think all except Blue Sky is probably STEMMCHEQ, because we couldn't get SHEC as an acronym in there, but we did get it on Blue Sky. So
well, you know what? You are an amazing wealth of knowledge, first of all, because half of what you say, I think this guy is way smarter than me. Number two, you are just amazing, fun guy. I really, really enjoy the opportunity of being able to chat with you a little bit. I wish we had more time, because through the conference, it's pretty fast moving, lots going on, but you and I will get another chance. But, every time I get to meet somebody in person, it's a true blessing. So thank you for that. And we just want to tell you how much we appreciate you being on the show today. Hang tight in the green room. We're going to say goodbye, but I would love to schedule to have you back on one of my other live streams. So we'll talk more about that.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Hope everyone learned something, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Great to great conversations. So.
Yes.
I put in the comments, and it's there on our YouTube. Scott Weaver is putting together a newsletter and magazine, and it's a support community for people. So Scott is an engineer by training. He's got a business master's degree, and he has himself gone through the whole cancer journey with a very, very rare form of cancer. He happened to be near another teaching hospital, and that's Vanderbilt there in Nashville. And they have some surprisingly deep knowledge on his very rare form of cancer. And he realized the same thing that Eugene was just talking about. You don't even know what questions to ask. And Scott is an investigator. So he dug and dug and dug and found it was still hard to find information. And so everyone I encourage to be a part of a community, whether it's Perspectives on Cancer or one of the programs that Dr. Eugene is involved in, or Arise to Live. Never go into any of this alone.
So, and I want to do a shout out to Mike Asherbrenner, because you're talking about community, and he has encompassed cancer as part of what the Hounds have supported. So I met Rochelle through him, and then met her in person in New York. Rochelle Prosser, who's amazing.
Hounds of Business. People can look for Hounds of Business. Make sure you connect up with Mike Asherbrenner and Hounds of Business. It's going to be easy. Just to find them on a hashtag or reach out. You can get to be a part of that community.
Yeah, and we're Hounds, so we love that community and I'm thankful for it. But yeah, Perspectives on Cancer, Tim Sohn, Kicking Cancer, Baron Robinson. There's so many good organizations that you need to support, and especially if you're passionate about it. Cancer, the two things that I advocate for are cancer and Alzheimer's, and really that touches every single person. Somebody say, oh, I don't have anybody in my family with cancer. No, you don't, but you have friends with cancer. You have people you know with cancer. Everybody, it is so prominent. In fact, I think that the statistic, Scott, is either 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 people will encounter some type of cancer in their body over their lifetime. It happens to a good share of us. So that is why it's a positive thing when we come together, everybody. Come together, join these amazing people and all that they're doing. And man, I am just so thankful for everybody here today, because we need to spread this word. And by the way, do us a favor, share this out. I talked about it earlier, but you can share this with all your friends. Let them know what's going on. Not only hit the share button, but you can tag your friends, let them know. They can watch us on replay, because guess what? After we're done here live, every week, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays, we're here live. Then it converts to video podcast forever. It sits on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then it converts to audio podcast. So you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. And if you forget all that, you can just go to russhedge.com or dscottsmith.com, or easier than that, if you remember the name of this show, you can go to there it is. Local.theexperience.video. There you go. You can go to that and you can find out all about Scott and I, about our shows, and about the Experience Radio Network. So please do that today. Eugene's information has been scrolling along the bottom here at the end of the show, as well as it's in the comments and the show notes. So please connect with him. He is an amazing blessing of knowledge, and I'm so thankful for him today. Scott, any last words?
Well, I'll just say that the people around the world are praying for you as you go into this PET scan tomorrow. And our prayer is that the results from the PET scan are just as encouraging as those that you got from the MRI.
Well, I can tell you, I'm with you 100%. And it's quite a journey. And your cancer is a lifelong journey, everybody. Even when you get to the point where maybe you've conquered the disease, and they're always keeping an eye on you. And I've encountered the full circle of that, having the cancer, the disease gone, and then it coming back and showing up again. So it's a lifelong process, but you know what? You can still have a good attitude, a good perspective, and stay positive no matter what. And I trust God every day. And Scott, I am believing for those good results. And thank you for saying that, because I'm looking forward to it tomorrow, doing that. So anyway, with that, I'm going to say goodbye and thank everybody for being here. The experience, like I said, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, live every week. You don't want to miss it. It's an exciting time. We do, and we've been so hope we see you again next Wednesday. Enjoy life and enjoy
the experience.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.